Perfect. I think it has started recording.
Okay.
They can edit it and stuff like that. Yes. Yes, here it is. You're recording this meeting. Let everyone know. Yeah. So, good morning, Sir Geoff. How are you? You okay?
I'm okay, I think. You never know.
Obviously, you know who I am, and I know who you are. So, obviously, I see you're not only just my uncle, but my mentor, my motivator. And, it's Black History Month. And we have another thing in common. We're both chairs of groups within the City of Edinburgh Council. But, obviously, we're celebrating our Black Scottish folk. So today we're celebrating you. We're just going to do a quick Q&A. Okay. I do apologise because I know you get asked questions probably every day, whether it be virtually, email or Twitter. Excuse me. So, I mean, the first question, okay, is when you hear Black History Month, what does that mean to you?
Well, it means, it's okay. People say it's 1 month of the year and it should be 12 months of the year. But I think what that the 1 month does, it creates a focus every year where people, it's like, Easter and Christmas and these important, religious days. We're supposed to be religious 365, days of the year.
Yeah.
But, Christmas and Easter brings up a focus for those who, those days are important to them in their lives. And therefore, for Black History Month, there's nothing to compare to those. But nevertheless, it brings a focus. People seem to want a focus for them, to motivate them. And therefore, Black History Month is our focus of where we are talking about our history. And other people now who are not Black or who are probably not described as Black, but anybody can call themselves Black. I remember a policeman telling me once that, he was very concerned because the kids around his area were calling him Black. And he was a white policeman. He was a white policeman. So, the idea, maybe because the way his attitude to them, because of his equality position, they were using it as almost a negative statement to him. But I told him it was a compliment because it was talking about his equality. And therefore, what Black History Month means to me, it's a focus of the history where, in fact, Black people were described officially and academically by one of the greatest minds, that Black people were inferior to whites.
Interesting.
And therefore, we in Black History Month, not only Black people, but white people and Asian people and other people, are using this 1 month now, not just for the history of Black people, but it's about equality. So Black History Month has now become a month to talk about not just Black history. That's what I've noticed.
Yeah.
It has become a month to talk about equality, inclusion, and diversity.
I love that, Uncle. I love that.
And that's what that fascinates me, because it is, therefore, Black history has given a world focus on equality. And I don't mind that at all.
Perfect. Uncle, my next question. Yes, we live in Scotland. So, do you have a preferred Scottish dish? Or treat, as they'd say?
Treat. Well, I'm a botanist, so I should know something about trees. And I've done I helped somebody to do a book on trees. But no, I think that what I like about, say, Scotland is where I live. I live in a little town stroke village called Pennycook.
Mm.
And I've lived here since 1977. So, and I've also got a responsibility for Midlothian in living in it, because I'm a freeman of Midlothian.
Okay.
And I don't say that very often. I rarely say it, but I probably should, because it's a great honor. And what's a great honor for me living in Midlothian is that my friend, Henry Dundas, this was his constituency.
Interesting.
And he must be, you know, completely astonished that there is a Black person in his constituency who's the freeman. And therefore, what I like about the Scottishness of the question you've asked is that it is how we have a history here that has almost come home to roost. It has come home to roost in a sense that Dundas couldn't have expected that somebody he transported into slavery, that their descendant would be the freeman of Midlothian, was his constituency. And that is what I call hope.
Okay.
That is a perfect example of hope.
My second last question, but just before, what is your favorite Scottish dish to eat? Just out of curiosity.
Scottish
dish. Yeah.
Well, you know, I'm not good. I've got some eating difficulties, so I don't eat fish and chips. But I used to love it. I used to eat buckets of it. But my favorite Scottish dish is rice and peas and chicken. My favorite Scottish dish.
I'll take that as an answer. I'll take that as an answer.
Well.
And no, we'll accept that. But my second last question for this interview is I know I've asked you this before. Obviously, what's happened recently? Has it got easier, or has there been progress from when you were Black in Scotland back in the day? As I'm talking about 1977, when you did obviously move to Scotland.
64. I came here in 64.
Well, there you go. Beg your pardon. And till now. So the way you were in Scotland when you first came to now, has there been massive improvements? Can you see a massive step to equality?
Yeah, I think that, you know, people sometimes, a journalist rang me just a few days ago, and she said, oh, I've spoken to somebody, and they said, oh, well, you know, this Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter thing will peter out, and, you know, we will have achieved nothing. And I objected to that. And I said, you know, the very fact that since we've been doing this history, you know, Glasgow University has got a new plaque stating their involvement in slavery, and it's up on the wall. And that is dedicated to those who suffered. Edinburgh Council has got a new plaque for Dundas' statue, or his monument, whatever one calls it. And the point is that that is also dedicated to those who suffered. And the Royal Bank of Scotland, if you look at the Earl of Hopetoun statue at the front of their headquarters in St. Andrew Square, they've altered his plaque to say that he was involved in slavery. And also, I gave a talk at the Merchant's House in Glasgow last Tuesday night. And the dean or the ex-dean pointed to the wall of this very ancient organization, started in 1605. And they were merchants. They were involved in slave trading.
Mm.
And I'm in the hall, and the ex-dean said, look at that wall, Geoff. And I looked, and I put it up on Twitter. I took a photo. And the Merchants Hall has admitted their involvement with slavery. And that plaque is dedicated to those who suffered. So we've got 4 plaques in Scotland by major institutions. They've got the word slavery on the plaque, and they've dedicated it to those who suffered. Now, you know, we could have thousands of pounds, and we could have, you know, 15% more jobs for BAME people. But to me, that is an achievement, because it's taken us 200 years to get the word slavery on Henry Dundas's plaque in the middle of St. Andrew's Square. Over 200 years. Wow. Now, to me, the new plaque, I hope, will be there for 200 years with that slavery on it. So therefore, I would like to believe that we have made progress. And the point is that all we've got to do is try and maintain it, all of us. It's not a one-man job or a 20-men job. Mm-hmm. It is all of us. And I think that, and just to conclude, to show that this is real, I was on a call, and there was a professor from the Caribbean on that call, and very radical, you know. And at the end of the call, she said, Geoff, could you explain to me why Scotland is at the forefront of this Black history application, so to speak? She asked me that because the world has noticed that we're changing plaques and that we are talking about this history, and that, you know, companies are involved and people are, you know, setting up organizations and meetings and whatever. The world has noticed. And she asked me why. And I said, I think Scotland is a country where once you start telling them the truth, you've got to continue.
100%. 100%.
You know, and that's the bottom line. So people have noticed what we're doing. So we could all, it's not a matter of congratulating ourselves. It means let's keep pushing, as Bob Marley says.
And keep going, right? Mm-hmm. Amen to that. May he rest in peace. My last question. Mm-hmm. Last question, Sir Geoff. Why are you Black and proud?
I'm Black and proud because that's what I've always been. Okay, I've got to admit that, you know, my family got me to do my DNA. And, you know, my wife, she's not here at the moment, but she hails from Aberdeen and Petersfield in England. And we met at university in 1961. So she's used to putting up with me. And my daughters and my son, they don't know how she manages, but nevertheless.
God bless her.
She looks after me. I couldn't do a thing without her. When she's not here, I just go to sleep.
well, I hope she watches this back and she knows that my aunt is appreciated. So it's all good.
Right. Well, she brought in the DNA results, and she said, "Do you want to hear them?" And I'm sitting on the settee over there, and I said, "Okay." And she said, "You are 80% Nigerian. You are 5% Kenyan. You're 5% Cameroon." And it got to 97%. And then I said, "Well, what's the remaining 3%?
Excuse me.
Okay. What's the remaining
Yeah.
3%? And she said, do you really want to hear it? She's smiling. And I said, yeah, what is it? She said, you're 3% Viking from Shetland. So
Well,
I'm black and proud, but I'm also proud of my 3% Viking from Shetland. And then when she told me that, she walked away, and with a wry smile, she said, it explains a lot. So I'm 97% African and 3% Viking from Shetland. And she says it explains a lot. And to me, that was a great compliment. So my blackness is about not only my genetics, but also my culture.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Thank you, Sir Geoff. Seriously, thank you so much for that. I know you're a busy man.
No,
I appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
And I appreciate you always teaching me. Because every time I speak with you, or I read about you, or read of your sparring on Twitter, I learn so much. So thank you very much.
But I must say too, finally, that the council, I know people work for an organization, you know, they don't always see eye to eye with how things are managed. I did that when I was at university and stuff. But what Edinburgh Council has done by altering that man's plaque, the world knows.
Yeah, exactly.
The world knows, and you're all part of that.
We're all pushing in the right direction now.
You know?
And for me, I always said this, Uncle, once you change their minds, you change their attitudes.
That's right.
And I think that once you do that, it'll be a slow process. None of us are naive, but you know, a process to change. And
we can't. That's what we remember. What I said, and I'll close with this. You know, we cannot change the past, but we can change the consequences of the past for the better using education. And one of the consequences of the past is racism. So we can change that. So there is no longer this, that's the past, forget it. We're talking about consequences. Exactly. And consequences are not only for race, it's for LGBT, it's for disability, it's for religion, the consequences. And that's what we're dealing with. And we're one humanity. I spoke to the Royal College of Surgeons yesterday as one of my first events out of the house. And they were all gathered there. And, you know, these were doctors and very senior people. And they are also wondering how we're bringing about this change. So it is not a change about, you know, equality organizations. Organizations like that have realized, and the head of the president of the Royal College of Physicians, you know, this is the president, Royal College of Physicians in Queen Street. He said, you know, Geoff, you were talking about, I'm the present president, but, and I said, yes, your previous president in the 1800s, early 1800s, was William Wright. He was a doctor from Edinburgh, but he owned slaves in Jamaica and he was out there. And he came back to Edinburgh and became president, but he was a slave owner, doctor and a slave owner. And he said, yes, we're still trying to get our heads around that. So keep pushing, and I'll speak to you later on. I better go before the wife comes in and get some work done in the kitchen.
Oh, Geoff, thank you so much for this.
No problem.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
That's it. Stop recording.